that's about it. Without further ado, I present you Debbie Levitt, and I hope you enjoy your talk.
Oh, thanks. Can I put your... Thanks. Okay, so I'm going to start with something a little weird, and I'm going to ask you which of my talks I should do, because I get the feeling from looking at the audience I might not be giving the right one. So let me ask you a little bit about you. Please hold. So I'm Debbie Levitt. I work in CX and UX and strategy. I've been a researcher for many years, a designer for many years. Some of you might have seen some of my YouTube videos. My channel is called Delta CX. I have almost 800 videos on YouTube talking in English, sorry, about CX and UX and strategy. And there's a bunch of different talks I do, and today they asked me to, that's the wrong screen. Today they had asked for my talk about not democratizing UX, but I get the feeling there's a different talk I could do instead. So let me ask quickly, who here works in UX? 1, 2, 3. Okay, because this is usually a talk for UX people. What do some of the rest of you do? What are your jobs? Developers. Are most people here developers? Who's a developer or engineer, front-end dev, back-end dev? Okay, she does everything. She's afraid to admit it. What else do people do? Our new friends here at the table, what do you do? Product design. Okay, so and when I said, do you do UX, you didn't raise your hands because? Okay. Okay, so, and then quick question, is anybody coming to my event tomorrow? The workshop. You, thank you. Okay, you, we know. You don't have a choice. Yeah, you're stuck. I'm gonna be in your building. Okay, so I think I'm gonna change the program if nobody minds. And since you're the only person coming tomorrow, I'm gonna do the short version of tomorrow, since most of you are not coming tomorrow. I think that's gonna be a better talk for who's in the room. So give me 1 second to open up that one. And let me just remind myself what slides are in here. Okay. Cool. So this is the 20-slide version of what I'm doing tomorrow. For you, a preview. For everybody else, possibly the only thing you might see from me. So I have a long workshop called Strategizing Products and Customer Experiences. It's really designed for everybody. UX, product design, developers, product managers, engineers. It's really for everybody. So if we have a mix of people, it's probably a better talk than my last one I put up, which is really aimed mostly at UX researchers and UX designers or product designers, and it sounds like we don't have too many here. So I'll do the talk that's really aimed at everybody. Don't go to that link. That was the last group. So the best link for this would be cxcc.to/space. I call it SPACE for short, Strategizing Products and Customer Experiences. And it's just going to be talking about the importance of being more customer-centric, focusing more on our users and our customers and making sure we're creating the right things for them. But before I tell you more about that, I will tell you who I am, since this will be a silly question, but has anybody here ever seen me before? Yes. Okay, where did you see me? YouTube. Okay, bad news, I'm shorter and fatter in real life, and I don't have all of those great lights around me, but yeah, I'm also three-dimensional. So since only one person here knows me other than my husband, who's the handsome Italian by the chessboard there, dragged him from our home in Italy, I'm Debbie Levitt. As I said before, I've been working in CX, UX, strategy, research, and design for decades, me and the dinosaurs. I'm originally American. I now live in Italy with my husband character guy. We're on the island of Sardinia, so now you have a reason to come to Sardinia and say it's a business trip. So I expect to see you there. My company is called Delta CX, so is the YouTube channel, and we are a full-service CX and UX agency and consultancy. We do projects and training and workshops, and also I tend to go into companies and try to help them figure out all of their problems with not being customer-centric enough. UX is fighting with engineering. UX is fighting. Who here has ever fought with UX? Yes, sure, yes. Person in glasses is like, don't look at me, I'm doing all the jobs. So I'm sorry, we'll get you some help at some point. So if there's anything you think I can do, let me know. But that's why clients call me Mary Poppins, because, did we have Mary Poppins in Croatia? Mary Poppins, yes. Okay, I fly in, fix everything I can, sing a few songs, and fly away to where I'm needed next. And a few things about my talk is I tend to say UX, user experience, and CX, customer experience, interchangeably. To me, when we do those well, they're the same thing. So if I say CX or UX, just imagine they're the same thing. I don't want to fight about who's a customer and who's a user. They're all in our ecosystem. We need everybody. Okay, so everyone in this room and everybody you work for all want the same three things. First, we want customer attraction and adoption. If we can't win new customers, we might not have found, I don't know if they say this here, product market fit. Do we say this here? It's overused in America. It's basically where our products or services are a fit for the target audience. We might not have found that if we can't win over customers. And also, we all want, not angry faces, but customer satisfaction. We hope to make our customers happy in some sort of ways, but chances are we have some poor ratings, we give customers surveys, we get some bad scores. Anybody here give their customer surveys and have perfect scores? Anybody giving customers surveys? Well, I don't love surveys, but they can be one way to figure out if customers feel like this or if they're happy with you. And to me, customer satisfaction starts with doing the right research, not just surveys, to learn how we are causing problems for our customers, because we probably are. And third, we all want customers to be loyal and stay and keep paying us. Whether these customers are the end user, or some of us might be at agencies, or people here at like agencies or development shops where your customer is really a client. So there might be different types of people here. Whoever it is, we want people to be loyal and stay and give us more money. But if we can't keep people, anything we tried to do to get them to sign on in the first place might not matter. So we have to think more about customer centricity and doing the things that our customers need, finding their unmet needs and meeting or exceeding those. But we tend to block this. Does anybody feel like, and maybe you don't want to raise your hand, you'll just look at me and cry a little bit. Does anybody feel like their company is doing an amazing job making their customers happy? Awkward silence. Okay, so, right. That's why we're here. So we tend to block these things. We're blocking attraction, we block satisfaction, we certainly block loyalty through usually one of these four things. And again, my point in talking about these is not just to make you nod at me and go, yeah, that sucks, but hopefully you'll go back to your jobs and say, hey, I saw this loud American lady and she gave us some ideas on how to look at this and do better. So that's really my goal here. So we block customers from being happier with us by not fixing our bugs. We often have bugs and complaints in the backlog, in the icebox. They stay there forever and they're not our priority because we want to build the new thing and we don't usually go back and fix the problems that we caused. We sometimes have a crappy value proposition. So what are we offering that our competitors don't? How are we better? We might not be better. How can we look at becoming better? We have to make sure that we're doing something that's going to make our customers' lives or work faster, better, easier, something like that. Now, I use my made-up word PSE is products, services, and experiences. Anything your company could sell to whoever they do business with. It's just my very short way, so I don't have to keep saying everything you sell to everyone that you do business with. So we have crappy PSE. There are so many ways that our customers might see what we are giving them as poor or low quality. Excuse me, so maybe you can think about times that you have uninstalled an app or canceled a service or downgraded. You had one reason, you had a lot of reasons, you had good reasons, and they might fall into this bucket. And this might be a reason you ran the other way as well. Bad human experiences. Has anybody ever stopped doing business with a company because of a person at that company? Maybe a salesperson or a support person? You are smiling and giving me the sign, so as the man next to you, you're like, if I do this, she won't call on me. Yeah, so we've probably had those experiences, and yet we don't do better. We just show up to work and we do the same bad things over and over. But I'm finding in the companies that I talk to, I'm hearing more people talk about how do we do better? And there's usually something here on this list that is happening at your company that can be the open door to talking to someone about change. Maybe you don't have the power to make change at your company, but someone does, and someone cares about these things. Try the strawberry juice. It's lovely. So, or it says strawberry-ish, which in English would be like kind of strawberry. So these are some examples of things I hear at companies that tell me people do want to do better. We hear, and these people can be your allies to make change. So Scrum Masters are asking why we have failed MVPs or experiments. Project managers are looking at the cost of guessing, because our company does a lot of guessing. Right? We're guessing, we hope people will guess about a guess and make a guess sandwich. Agile coaches are saying we're not really innovating. Strategists and marketing wonder why we can't meet our goals. Support sees higher complaints or angry tweets or low ratings. Sales is struggling to win or keep customers. We're losing to competitors. Or in some cases, it's we're hearing more that CX, customer experience, is important. Or my favorite, Amazon is customer obsessed, so we should do that too. Amazon says they're customer obsessed, but I think they're obsessed with making me do things, and that's not the same. But let's talk more about this. We don't always stop and think about how inefficient our teams are when we're working from guesses. Does anybody want to be brave and say, I have been on a team that has built things for customers based on a guess we had about the customer? We're guessing? We don't even know. We're guessing that we're guessing. Maybe we're guessing? Yeah. But guessing versus, wow, we observed customers and we really know what they need and we're building that. And I find that people think that that's fast. It'll be fast if we just make what a product manager's idea is, or the CEO's idea, or somebody else's idea. We think that's fast, but we're not thinking about the full arc of the project and how much the total project costs us in time and money when we didn't guess correctly, which is most of the time. Has anybody ever had to roll back to the previous version? Roll back to the previous version. You've been there. Yeah, that was a guess that went really wrong. And so we have things that we can point at if we have, you know, a little bit of American in us and say, that didn't go very well. Remember that project that we had to roll back? This one's starting to look like that. I think we need to talk more about this project. But we might be then asking, if guessing isn't always going very well, how can we know? How can we know what's going to be right for customers? And again, sometimes companies send out surveys, but the surveys are usually not written very well. If I say, hey, do you like my shirt? Most of you are going to be like, yeah, but even people in the back are like, I don't want to say no. I want to be nice to you. I'll say maybe, you know. And so we fill out surveys sometimes with what we think people want to hear and not really the truth. And so surveys can give us misleading information. So how will we get better information? So I like to say that strategies and decisions should be based on evidence and data. But our ability to be customer-centric is only as good as the evidence and data that we have. If that's bad surveys, then we have bad evidence. And we work from that and we make guesses. But we want it to be good. We want it should be knowing our target audience's journeys and workflows and tasks and experiences so that we can build what's right for them. Our knowledge of our target audiences and their tasks are only going to be as good as the research we've done. Again, if our company's idea of research is, I'm going to go to a coffee shop and ask people if they like my shirt, then that's how good our evidence and data are, and it's not good. And so therefore, we have to remember that the research that we have is only as good as the research that we've done and how we're doing that research. So who are our researchers in the room, or people who sometimes are talking to customers or researching customers? I assume woman with glasses is doing everything. No? Okay. This time it's him? Okay.
He studied.
I was supposed to do it before COVID, and pardon my French, fucked everything up.
I'm so sorry. I wish I had the time machine and could fix that.
It is what it is.
It is. So we know that there are some people in our companies who do research, and when research is done well, it looks a little something like this, in that we start with, what are we trying to learn by doing research? We're going to plan the research should have goals, we should have a strategy for this research project. Then we write up a protocol or script or guide. This is, what are we going to watch people do, or what questions are we going to ask them? This is all planned ahead of time. So when you have people at your company who say, I'm just going to call up a customer and ask them some questions, they're not really doing research correctly, and it might end up giving you false or bad information. Then we do recruiting, which is, who do we want to meet? How many of these people? Where are we going to find them? Who should they be? Are we paying them for their time? If not, why not? They should be, unless it's government and you're not supposed to. Then there's the execution of the sessions, in that, how are the sessions executed? You can interview people well, and then you can interview people badly. And then how do we analyze and synthesize the research that we have? And you can see how different a real research process is from someone who says, I'm just gonna go to the coffee shop and ask some people some questions. And then I'm going, well, holy cats, this does not look like it's being done correctly. We should really look more closely at this, because I don't want it to give us bad information. Because ultimately your company does believe in research. Your company wants to run surveys. Your company wants to talk to customers. They want to look at your data and analytics. They want to hold focus groups, which I don't like at all. They suffer from what we call groupthink, where people want to say and think the same thing. Or I like to remind people, if you get a personality like mine in a focus group, your focus group is toast. Because I have a big and loud and bold personality, and there will be people in the room who will shut up and who won't want to speak up. Now your focus group is a giant mess. You'll also have what we call, at least in America, a VOC, voice of the customer. And this is when we didn't speak to the customer, but we're getting information about them in other ways they express themselves. To angry tweets. Who here has angry tweeted at a company? Nobody? Or is everyone sleeping? Or that's not popular here? And no angry tweeting. Angry Facebooking? No. What do we do when we're angry at a company? How do we tell them? Do we tell them?
We call them on the phone, usually.
We call them on the phone?
Yeah, if there's a phone.
If there's a phone. If there isn't a phone?
Email.
We email them. That's still voice of the customer. So if we're not angry tweeting, we're angry emailing, we're angry live chatting, we're angry phone calling, and companies are supposed to have records of these where we could get an export or some data of all of the things people are angry about, because they're usually the same thing. And customer support and call centers are data rich, and then you have market research and the predictions being made from it. So your company believes in research, but very often they don't want to spend the time or money on the type of research I'm talking about, which is usually more observational. I can learn a lot more from sitting or standing in this room and looking at you, looking at body language, looking at your faces, looking at who's on their phone and who's not on their phone, looking at looks on faces. And I can learn a lot more about that than if I sent you a survey. And so we love to watch people doing things, but not just in our system, just their day-to-day lives. For example, my company a few years ago did a research project for a well-known online selling platform to learn more about how the sellers were listing their items for sale. Now, we didn't just say, go ahead, open up your computer, list your items for sale. We had them talk us through their entire process from first I make the item. It's a craft site that you may or may not know. I make the item. Okay, well, how do you take a picture of it? Oh, I go out into my backyard and I have a cloth and I wait for the sun to be right and I set up my camera. They had all of these tasks and processes that, again, we're not going to know about if we send them a survey. We learned all about their end-to-end, multiple tasks, including their time on the platform to list the item. And we found a mountain of information. We found that there were certain fields on the page that were meaningless to people. They didn't understand if they had to fill these out. They didn't understand what to put in them. We learned that they put, we say Band-Aids, plasters, they put Band-Aids on their task. They tape their task together. They use workarounds. They had cheat sheets and browser plugins and outside tools and systems just to try to get better at putting their item on this platform with the right information. We found inconsistencies and inefficiencies. We learned that the system asks people who have a PDF file, I assume people still know what PDF file, if it comes physically framed, like in wood. Does your PDF come in a frame? Not a thing. It's a downloadable file. Doesn't get a physical frame, but the system was asking them if it had a frame, which made them think this company is bad. And then they had error messages that they couldn't make sense of. They didn't understand the error messages. We've all seen error messages that we didn't understand. This is a common thing. But once you're watching people go through this, it just feels like watching the horror movie where you're yelling, "Don't go in the basement." don't pick up the phone. You know, when you're watching people go through these things, you can really start to see where things are broken. And those are the opportunities for your company to make small fixes or a bigger change or innovation. And you're unlikely to find these types of things from surveys, focus groups, A/B testing. Do people know about A/B testing? Is that common here? A/B testing. Yes, man from Czech Republic knows A/B testing. And luckily he came all the way here to tell us about A/B testing tonight. No, I'm kidding. It's A is what you have now, and B is a variation or change, and you're going to test one against the other. Do we call it something different? Is that done here? No.
It's A/B testing.
It is, okay. Right, exactly, literally split testing. The comedy keeps on coming from the Italy contingent. Split testing, very good. That one hurt a little. A/B testing, not my favorite, but something people do, and it still won't tell you any of these things. Which leads me to this. Some people ask me, well, how do you know that bad evidence or guessing is really the problem here? Maybe somebody else is the problem or something else is the problem. How can we know if working from guesses and bad evidence are really the problem? Do you see the guest star on the slide is my dog, Diana. Thank you. Once I put up trees, I had to put up Diana. She's a wanderer. So there are things that you can look for during your project that will tell you, oh no, we are working from guesses or bad evidence or no evidence, and that way you can hopefully feel like you can say something to somebody, even if it's quiet in a side room, say something to somebody. So one thing you might find is there's no clear strategy for your project. We might have a to-do list or features we want to build, but we really don't have a larger strategy. Let's see, what else? Success criteria. So I find very often on projects, the only time we come up with success criteria is, well, the business wants to see more people sign up or more money come in. But we don't have any criteria that look at users or customers. How are they successful? How are they being happy or satisfied or having a positive experience? I am very on fire about writing problem statements from the perspective of customers and users. Very often I see product managers training people that problem statements are going to be from the business's perspective. The business wants more users, more revenue, more loyalty. But what about the problems from the customer or user perspective? We rarely, we'll go into one in depth tomorrow in the workshop, but we rarely are creating those now, which means we're probably not solving the user's problems. We're guessing, or we really don't care. What else? Yes, I find on teams, and I don't know if any of you have experienced this, but it can be hard to make decisions on your team because we don't have good evidence or data from our users or customers. So instead of being able to say, well, this is what the data says, this is what we know about our users, we're fighting over opinions. It's my opinion versus the product designer versus the researcher versus the engineer guy versus some other stakeholder or leader. We're fighting over what we like better because we don't know what the user really needs. And that's a sign that we're guessing or we don't have the right evidence. Now, once we get this out there, whatever this product or service or software is, we're probably going to see some pretty clear things that tell us we weren't working from good evidence or the right evidence, like customer support. If customer support is getting a lot of calls or angry emails or tickets or chats or angry tweets or whatever happens here, that's a sign that something probably didn't go as well as it could have. That's not good. Negative voice of the customer. So again, survey results that look bad. Has anybody ever gotten one of those NPS surveys where they ask you to rate the company 0 to 10, or they say, how likely are you to recommend us to a friend or colleague? You know, these are called NPS. I gave someone a 0 the other day. Has anyone ever given a company a 0 or a 1? Oh yes, right? We've done that. That's supposed to be a message to the people in our company that something didn't go right. And to me, it starts with not having the right evidence or data to have done a better job. Of course, a really obvious thing is if we're losing revenue or customers. I'm sure there are those rare times where we put something out there and we actually see people downgrading or leaving. That would be a pretty clear sign. Again, the A/B test, which you may or may not be familiar with, but again, A is what you have, B is a small change or the new idea, and if B loses in the test against A, then you're trying to fix what you had now, and you tried to fix it with something that was worse. That's bad, and it sounds like we probably didn't have very good evidence or data. If you have, I don't know if they call do you call these KPIs? Yes, okay, I never know where people are using American or English words for things. And OKRs, are you all saying OKRs? OKRs are wacky. I don't have more slides on them, so you're lucky. Anyway, any metrics or things that you're watching, if they're going wrong, you're probably not working from the right evidence. And sometimes people say to me, no, these guesses are fine, but we have bad designers, or we have a bad design. And I say, that might not be the case, and it might not be the problem. A designer can only work from the information the designer has. And if we haven't given the designer good information about our users and customers and what they're doing and what they need, your designer was making their best guess. And so it still all comes back to bad evidence as that root cause. Oh, and just a reminder, if it's not tech debt, like a bug or a slow site or a bad database, it's probably a CX or UX problem. And even when you have a tech problem, sometimes your customer thinks it's a UX problem, it's their user experience. So something to look at. Okay, so some ideas that I like to give people about strategies and planning, jumping to the end of tomorrow for our one attendee tomorrow. You're reading the last page of the book now. But these are some things, this is how I believe that our processes should work. Okay, it's not going to be this for every company. You can shift this and make it your own, but this is what I would recommend. So first of all, what are we working on and why? Sometimes people above us say, we want more customers, we want more money, we want more something, or we want fewer customer support calls. That's too broad. So somebody with some leadership is going to have to break that down and make sure we know where we are focusing. Then we have to ask ourselves, what do we know about this particular area of focus? We might realize we don't know that much. We would have to admit that, say it out loud. No one's going to like hearing it. But we can start with the stuff that's cheap and easy to find. Internal customer support, complaints and records, maybe surveys we've run, even though they usually suck. But we can start, angry tweets, angry emails, we can start with those, and we can always open it up to observational or interview research if we need more information. But if we had the right information, we would be able to write a clear problem statement and say, this is our users or customers' problem. Our customers are having trouble finding the right items on our site. This is due to crappy third-party data. This is due to database performance problems that we have. This is due to something else. We hopefully know what the problem is and what the root causes are. If we don't know, we should be going back and doing that research so that we know. Otherwise, any fix we try is a guess. Things I hope to have time for today, and we'll do more tomorrow, but I do suggest my impact map, which I'll show you in a moment. And also, when you're making your impact map, which asks you to look at root causes of a problem, you might realize we don't know the root causes, which means do more digging. Ask more people within the company, or possibly spin up that research to talk to customers. Then a change dependency map, which I think I have a slide on in this short version. I'll have to check. Then prioritization. And one thing that I try to teach people on, which might be different from how you do it now, is instead of prioritizing features, like we want to build a thing, try prioritizing customer and user problems. If you've written problem statements and you have some ideas of what's causing those, you can get together as a team and decide which problem do we solve first. Now, we don't know what the solution is yet. We don't know what the features are yet. We're going to start by solving the customer problems that will also help our business make the money and achieve the goals that it wants. I think we need more accountability in our workplaces. I don't know what's happening in this country, but I feel like in America, no one has been held accountable for anything. In the places I've worked in America and Europe, I've seen people spend hundreds of thousands of dollars or euros, even millions, on a disaster project, and then no one says a word to them after. Now, that doesn't mean I think they should be fired immediately, but there's lots of things that we can do to hold people accountable. Maybe they don't get as big a budget next time. Maybe they have a partner who looks at their stuff. Is anybody seeing accountability where they work? People who mess up are really being held responsible? No, not really. No. Me either. I want this back. I want accountability again. This would solve a lot of our problems. People wouldn't try to do my job badly if they were going to be held accountable later. And finally, the governance model. And by the way, these slides come from, and tomorrow's workshop, come from my new book. And I don't have one here because I decided to travel light. So that's really light. I should at least have a book to hold up. But my new book is called Customers Know You Suck. And it's written in English, and so, you know, enjoy that. And basically, it's the long version of this. It's a look at how we can be more customer-centric, what's blocking us, and what to do. And the governance model is part of that. Anytime we're trying some new processes or changes in our company, we have to watch those closely and make sure they're going well. Otherwise, we have companies doing internal experiments on themselves and not even stopping or changing it when it's going bad. This is my favorite slide in the deck and something all of you can do, so I do recommend taking a picture of it with your camera phone. This is what I call the quadrant exercise, and I didn't invent this. This came from a woman named Helen Page, who I worked with last year. And whether or not you have researchers, if you have researchers should run this exercise. If not, someone please run this exercise. And basically the idea is, let's imagine that your company wants to build or create or fix something. What do we know about this? What questions do we have? What are our guesses? What do we think we know? This is something that we can run as an exercise in a meeting. It's also something that we can run asynchronously, where we put this up on a shared whiteboard, either physically in the office or Miro or an online system. And we ask people, put up all of your questions. They could be questions about our users or customers. They could be questions about technology. They could be questions about habits and behaviors. There will be some questions we can't answer with typical CX or UX research, like what would people pay for an unknown future thing that would solve all their problems? Nobody knows. That's a guess. So that question's out of scope. But most of the questions people will put up are questions that research could answer. And the tough conversation I like to have with teams after we fill this thing up is, and you want to move ahead with this project tomorrow when we don't have the answers to any of these? when we don't know all of these things, when we wish we knew some things and we don't know these things. So I always hope that this exercise is a good moment for the team to have some introspection or some aspect of that where we're saying, wow, we really don't know. There's a lot we don't know, and there's a good chance we're going to guess wrong. There's a good chance we're going to waste time or money on those guesses. So this is a great one to run at any time. There's no bad time to run this, but my favorite time to run this is before the project starts. When you're still planning the project and figuring out time is, hold on, do we even know what we need to know for the project to move forward? Ugh. Anybody work at a company that sounds like this, where it's like, hey, just do a thing, and then someone changes their mind next week, a few weeks later, people are laughing nervously. I'm going to assume that's a yes. And so I think we have to do more to say something. I know we don't always feel like we have that power, but hopefully there is a team leader or our manager who isn't the team leader or someone where we can say, I'm worried about this project. It really doesn't seem to have a clear strategy. They keep changing their mind. We don't even know what we're doing. We're chasing different ideas. Have people been on teams that have felt like this? Does this sound familiar other than maybe this corner? This corner has been there. So I think that we need to speak up more and not let these projects go on because they very often fail in small and large ways. So this was the impact map I was talking about, and if you Google impact map or opportunity solutions tree, which are not made up by me, you'll often see things like this, where we start with a business goal, usually some way the business thinks they're going to grow or make more money. But if you look closely at these trees and these maps, they're typically, how are we going to push or force people to do what we want, thinking that will make the company achieve their goal? And I think it's important to really be careful of these and notice when they're happening, because this is not customer-centric. This is not user-focused, at least not in good ways. How many people here, you all look like smart people, how many people think an FAQ is going to help us have more active users? You think an FAQ will help us have more active users? Maybe, on a good day. More new content. Now, some of you in the room are probably marketing or have some marketing responsibilities, and you probably say, sure, new content can be great. It could bring us active users. But there's an unanswered, huh, there. What content? How much? How often? What topics? Who's the audience? What do they need to know? It's really easy to write stuff on here that is fluffy. More content. Okay, I still don't know what to do. What content? So be careful of these fluffy things, because then we're going to go, well, you're in marketing, make more content. And you're going to go, so better research and evidence would be better, so you know, I know what content to make for my audience. So be careful of some of these, because this is really hot right now, at least in America and Europe, I'm hearing, or, well, we're in Europe, I forgot, I was just in America like 2 days ago, everywhere. But I look at these and I go, how do you take action on that? How do you take smart action? Weekly email, hands up, who loves getting weekly emails? Said no one ever. So, these things sound good. They sound like things we should say to each other so we can say we have a plan to get to more active users, but this is too fluffy. This is a quick look at my impact map where I start with a customer or user problem, something that is a real, not guessed at problem for our customers. And it's a sample one, so I'm saying customers are having problems finding the right items on our site. Imagine it might be a search engine, a search or e-commerce type of thing. Okay, why is that happening? Well, I'm assuming that we've done research, internal research, external research to find out what's going on. Why is it a problem to find stuff on our site? Next, I want to connect that with bad things happening in the business. What is the impact on the business because customers have this problem? Now we're tying together bad things happening for customers with bad things happening for the business. Hey, we're not getting as many orders as we want or used to. Hey, we're not getting as high a dollar value, or we're getting a lot of complaints. Remember, when customer support is being used, it costs companies money. They want to see it used less. And then the bottom are just some nice, small, conservative first steps. If we fix this for the customer, we think pretty quickly we could make these initial positive changes that would help us show solving this problem is bringing us back in the right direction. This can help us get what we call buy-in. I don't know if you say that here. Buy-in to convince people that this project is worth doing. Because chances are, if you say to someone at your company, people think our search sucks, they'll go, cool, who cares? Do not care. They'll give them a different finger than this one, and they'll say, do not care. But if we can say, our search sucks, here's why, and here's how it's affecting our company. Here's our wasted time, our wasted money, our lost money. Maybe someone will go, ooh, let's take a look at that project again. So it could be worth it. And then when it comes to brainstorming, I don't like design sprints. I don't like design thinking. I'm not for lean UX, which is not lean and it's not UX. If I'm going to do any brainstorming with a team, I just want them to give general ideas. They don't have to sketch screens. I don't want them sketching screens. I'm trying to avoid people solving problems without understanding the problem or the target audience. I'm trying to avoid asking people to draw the exact screen and exactly how this works. I don't need that. And I'm trying to avoid vote for your favorite idea, because if I ask everybody in here to vote on a bet or something, we might end up voting on something, we won't agree, and we still don't know what's right for the customer. We just know what we picked. And I don't want us to pick stuff like it's American Idol. So I like to do brainstorming quite simply. I don't have the prettiest Miro boards. I'm not an artist. I have a degree in music and an MBA. So my artistic talent is in music. I'm a terrible artist. Ask my husband. So basically, I just want people to drop notes in. If you have an idea here, what ideas are really great for the business, but probably not great for the customer? What ideas do you have that are great for the customer, might not be great for the business? And do you have any ideas that are good for both? That doesn't mean we only do the last column. It just means we have some self-awareness about the other ones. And if you're going to vote, because people love voting in these meetings, vote on what's higher priority. Then it's not exactly a popularity contest. And then ignore the vote, because we already did prioritization. I probably don't have time for Tri-Track Agile. Let me just check what slides are left in this deck. This is usually a little bit, 2, okay. I've got 2 slides left, and then we will throw pizzas at you, so thank you for staying a little bit extra. Has anyone heard of Tri-Track Agile? Has anyone heard of Dual-Track Agile? Has anyone heard of Agile? Agile, yes? Okay, well, okay, great. And then I said pizza, and everyone woke up. Has anyone heard of Tri-Track Pizza? Whoa, holy crap, yes. So really quickly, if you think about Agile, we're trying to help our engineers be faster and more efficient, get more stuff out more often. But we don't often think about what's going on with our researchers and our designers. So Tri-Track Agile reminds people that there are 3 separate streams of work happening at the same time. We have our first stream, which is all of our research and strategy and the things that come from that research. The second track is product management, which should be based on the knowledge we got in the research. So that is evidence-informed, evidence-based. And also all of our architecture and design, it could be the software architecture, but I'm thinking more UX architecture, like information architecture. And then finally you have delivery, which is whatever your engineers want to do in whatever style they are using. That way these are 3 separate streams of work, always happening at the same time. The designers are always working on something, the researchers are always researching or testing something, and engineering is going along. And I know there aren't arrows here, but from time to time they're sharing in all directions. It would make the image overcomplicated. So to wrap up, a lot of people say, oh, we're product-led. We want to be led by the product we're going to try to sell. We want to be engineering-led. We're all about the software. We're going to be sales-led. We sell people stuff. Oh, we're going to be led by our company values. That's the most garbage, right? Company values, total lies. I'm so sick of them. But I like to say, I want us to be value-led. I want us to be led by the value that we can deliver to users and customers. And some people say, well, that's product-led. And I say, not necessarily if we are guessing or if we are doing what the high-paid person says. We are probably not customer and user-led. We are probably led by the high-paid people. So consider being value-led, because your customers and users will be judging the value of what you give them, no matter what the high-paid person said. And that ends this particular talk with a quick reminder that you can get Customers Know You Suck on Amazon and Audible. It's also on my website, which is down here, cc.to/CKYS, or hit that QR code. I have it on my site as a PDF and EPUB for as little as $1 American. So this is the anti-money grab. It's the anti-sales pitch. The book is available quite inexpensively if you'd like, or you can grab it on Amazon. And of course, you can always look me up in the Delta CX universe for all of the YouTube shows. I'm usually live 2 to 4 times a week at 6:30 our time, though I might be changing that. But you know, you're getting home from work, you want to hear more about this, of course. And we do lots of helpful live shows where I'm always taking questions in each show. So if I can help at all, please let me know. But you didn't have questions during the thing, which was mysterious. I was told you were going to constantly interrupt me. But if you have questions now, I'm happy to take them here at the end. Otherwise, you know, there's pizza. But there's pizza and questions, so let me know if I can answer any questions. Anybody have a horror story they want to tell? Yes?
So you said that you are not, that you don't like A/B testing or something like that.
Ooh, we have a microphone. It's so fancy here.
If I knew this, I wouldn't ask anything. I'm kidding. So you said that A/B testing, that you don't like it. So why?
What's up with that?
Yeah.
So why don't I like A/B testing? So again, A/B testing is where we have our existing software or system. It's our A. And then we have a new idea, which is sometimes a small change or a large change, depending upon your style, and that's our B. Very often we release these to some or all of our real customers, and we're looking for some sort of metric. We're looking for people to click a button more, or buy more, or do something, usually more. The problem is that we usually haven't done a good UX process before that. Usually the first time we're getting feedback from the users or customers is when they see the A/B test. Then all of a sudden people are now stuck with this version. It's usually, they're usually not given a choice. They're just given this variation, and that's the system they have to use. If we didn't do a good UX or user-centered design or human-centered design process before, we are giving them a guess. We might not have researched in the beginning to see what they need. We might not have done any usability testing on the design to see if the design was a good design. A lot of times teams say, we don't have time for that. Just get it out there. We'll see what happens. This is ultimately foolish. Because very often, if A wins, we don't know why. We don't know why A did more of a thing. If B wins, we don't know why. And sometimes, if you don't have a really amazing analytics team, you don't see other things that happen. At the company I worked at last year, I remember they ran an A/B test, and the goal was to get people to click this button more. And they found that people weren't clicking the button more. They were clicking it less with the A/B test, but they were registering for the company's site more from that A/B test. So did it win? Did it lose? If people aren't doing the thing we wanted, but they're doing something else, is this good? Is it done? So I always worry about an A/B test, especially that didn't have any good research or usability testing first. It's a real, we say, a shot in the dark. Playing darts with a blindfold. Do people know what a usability test is? This side of the room. Does this side of the room know what a usability test is? Don't be shy. Say no. Man in the front. Okay. So I know you don't. You're just shy. So a usability test is part of UX work. And what happens is, do you know what a UX designer does or a product designer? No. What do you do?
I just go to gymnasium.
I just go to the gymnasium. Okay.
I went with him. He knows more than me.
You're with him?
Yes.
Okay. So you're the friend who came for the potato chips and pizza. And you do?
My mother said I can work with her on summer, so I have to go.
He's helping his mom for the summer. Okay, so this is going to be all new to you. I understand that. So a usability test is typically where we take the idea that we have, that we've made into a design, and we run it by some of our target audience. So that way, before we put it out to the public and say, great, let's give this crap to everybody, we first test it with a handful of people to see if we're going in the right direction. A lot of companies skip this. They think, well, we don't have to do this. We're going to just put it out to the public and see what happens. But we really don't do this in anything else. We don't do this with parachutes. We don't do this with cars. You know, cars get a lot of modeling and testing before they go out to the public, and software should also. So I would like to see more of that happen. And also my problem at the at the end of the A/B test, I go, okay, one of them won, but why? Like, I don't know what to do next. And I think you said you do product design, so you might, after the A/B test, you might be like, what if I make a change that takes away what worked? And what if I break, I don't even know why. So I feel like they don't give us the why that designers like us would want, even if the A/B test wins.
Can I have
yes.
another question?
You came all this way, please.
I think that the microphone doesn't work.
No, it's going to the recording.
Okay.
But I agree.
Okay, I have experience with A/B testing, and which was focused more on design choices. You know, like color, shape of the button. Do you think that for these choices is this UX research behind important? I don't know how to do it, because it's really subjective. And you need really, big audience, how to measure it. And I think for this, from my point of view, is A/B testing pretty good.
Yeah, so you're not the first person to ask me this question in the last few weeks. So I am getting this question a lot, which is, should we be A/B testing design choices, like how round the button is or what colors we're using? And my answer to that starts with, do we have a brand identity? You know, why are we A/B testing colors? We should have a clear brand identity. That brand identity will have our colors, whatever our colors are. And our colors are not for American Idol voting. These are our brand colors. Also, our brand has to be accessible. So do our colors and shapes and fonts work for dyslexia? Do they work for ADHD? Do they work for autism? Do they work for color blindness, or as we say in Italian, daltonismo? So I don't know how you say it here. Do they work for color contrast? So I feel like when we put those things out to the public, I usually find that that's A/B testing that we say is missing the forest for the trees. Like, your company's website or app or service might still be terrible. it might be frustrating, it might be confusing, it might be broken, but congratulations, people like rounder buttons. So I think that, can you do A/B testing for do people like this round a button or this round a button? You can, but are you putting care into all of the other problems which you would know from customer support and other things? So I think that if we understand accessibility and we understand our brand, then we don't have to keep A/B testing small changes. I personally, and I could be wrong, and it might depend on your company and product, but I am not sure people are going to significantly buy more if there is a 12 pixel radius or a 17 pixel radius. I don't know. The company, a company I worked with at one point, A/B tested adding the words good luck next to the button, thinking being positive would make people click more. And I'm like, this looks desperate and weird. Your whole site sucks. Congratulations on adding good luck next to the button. Everything else sucks, and your app is getting 1 star. So people do it, and if it's working, it's working. I can't tell you it's not working. It just wouldn't be my first choice. My first choice would be to put expert artists and designers and branding people on your branding.
For me, it's more like fine-tuning, it's like how to, from 90% rise it to the 95 or 90.
You can do that, but then will you do it again in 6 months when people might change their tastes? Remember when we had shadows under everything, then we didn't have shadows. And who remembers fake emboss? Remember fake embossing? Yeah? Man in Converse shirt remembers fake embossing, maybe. So, our tastes change. So you could spend a lot of time. This costs your company money. So my question would be, is this the best way to spend our time and money? Maybe it is and maybe it isn't. I can't say. I can just say I prefer time and money going to something else. Thoughts, questions, disagreements, anger. Pizza, yes? Give them the pizza.
No, we have plenty of time for pizza. I wonder what method besides usability testing you use in your work. I'm asking this because I'm probably the only one person in the room which doesn't work in industry. I work at university and I teach my students how to do usability testing and user-centered design and stuff like that.
Thank you, Professor.
That's why I'm here, to hear more from you.
Very great.
So I wonder what other methods you use and in which phases of design, what you think is suitable for early phases like paper prototype, wireframe, mockup, or something like this, and how to proceed with this evaluation and redesign circles.
Okay, so this has a long answer. Can we give them pizza while I give them the long answer here? Okay, thanks. So the question was, I'm a professor in user-centered design. I'm teaching my students about some of the things you're talking about. What are different types of research that I would use at different parts of a project? And it also sounded like, how do I approach design at different parts of the project as well? So in a dream project, it would start with the generative research. We call it generative because it generates information that we don't have yet, whereas evaluative testing evaluates something that does exist. So evaluative would be usability testing, or sometimes we show people a competitor's website and we watch them use it. These are all evaluative. The generative are more of your early research that sometimes people call discovery or exploratory. My style for generative is observational and interview. So it could be more of a contextual inquiry, but I'm very, very, very in love with observational research. I'm a real detective type of personality, so I really want to watch people and get to have a conversation with them. I'm not surveys, I'm not focus groups, I'm not any of that. How many users do we need? So the general rule for generative research, that early discovery and what did I just say? Discovery and exploratory research. The general rule is 8 to 12 per persona or segment or typology. I'm doing behavioral typologies now more than I'm doing personas. We choose 8 to 12 per segment. So if those of you who work in marketing, if you've identified 3 key segments for this particular product, a researcher like me wants to meet 8 to 12 of those people. That means possibly 36 people. We just did research in January and February where we met 35 people for that generative study. We try where possible to get a good mix of genders, and as a liberal person, I mean all genders. And we try to get some people with disability needs. It's great to meet people who might have motion, hearing, vision, memory, and especially ADHD, autism, dyslexia, which are now just more common, or at least better diagnosed than ever. So those are our customers. They're real people, so you don't want to meet 30 white guys. Let's stop meeting 30 white guys and calling it research. Thank you. So I'm all about watching people and speaking with them. After that, for design, I am 100% Acture. So I don't do paper prototyping at all, because if this is a digital experience, I don't know why I'm showing them paper. I can't think of a good reason to show somebody a piece of paper. I mean, I can't even find one here, but a piece of paper, and it's like handing someone a small piece of cheese and saying, well, how's my pizza? Well, this isn't a pizza, it's a small piece of cheese. So I don't love paper prototypes, which for those of you who aren't familiar, a paper prototype is when a designer mocks up some screens that could be a digital experience, but they're still paper, they're sketches. And then they bring them to people and they say, what would you do with this? And people go, nothing, it's fucking paper. So, I can't click on it. So I don't love anything that isn't more faithful, a more faithful model. So I am 100% Acture, if you're familiar with Acture, A-X-U-R-E, hashtag not sponsored. I just paid them and it hurt. And Tony, you poured this for me, but I don't know what it is. Do you?
Yeah, that's a strawberry meatball.
Okay, thanks.
I know you're drinking.
I'm like, what is this? Does anyone know? Thank you. So I go straight into Acture, which allows me to do very realistic prototyping. I don't like Figma. I don't like Adobe XD. I don't like InVision. I don't like Sketch. I am straight into Acture for everything. You can catch a playlist on my YouTube channel called Think Out Loud. And on Think Out Loud, I teach people research planning, because I can't do the research on YouTube, but research planning and Acture design by thinking out loud as I do it. I also have 16 hours of Acture lessons, since I'm one of their recommended trainers. And I love Acture because it has variables and logic. So I can make something incredibly realistic. I can validate form fields and give people error messages if they haven't typed the right thing in. Whereas when you're using Figma, which I know is hot, you can't even type into a form field. I can't usability test that. It's not usable. It's not even a thing. It's a click-through model. So I'm not fans of paper prototypes or click-through models because they're not realistic. When it comes to the evaluative testing, where I've got a design and I'm going to test it on this nice person here in the front row, typically the rule is find 5 people per persona, segment, or typology. So again, if you have 3 segments, that might be 15 people plus people with accessibility needs. So the idea would be 15 people without accessibility needs, and then try to find people with color blindness, left-handedness, people who don't use a mouse but might tab through everything. You want to make sure you're testing on that, not just when the developers are building, because they're supposed to do that too, but we should do it too. So
Are those people from the first group or new people?
super question. Can you reuse people from your testing groups? Best not to if you can find fresh people, because the more you reuse people, the savvier and smarter they get about what you're building. So, like for example, Tony pours me strawberry juice without me asking for it. He now has the knowledge that that might be the drink I want, but he didn't ask me. Maybe I felt like something else, and he doesn't even know. No, I'm joking. I'm just using you as an example. So the problem is if we show people our prototype or our design, and then we fix it or change it a bit and we show it to them again, they have knowledge from the first time they saw it. And whether or not they like one better, the usability might be easier the second time because they've already tried it. They have that knowledge. They are biased. They're not clear, they're not a clean group. So yeah, we could talk a lot more about this. Feel free to reach out to me privately, but those are some good ways to go, and it's what we follow at my company, and we do find that it works. Very often, sometimes even the 8 to 12 people is sometimes a little too much if you really have a similar group of people. Like our last research was American millennials trying to save money. And we found that there was some variation and there were some very similar behaviors and stories. And so, but 8 to 12 ended up great for the 3 segments that we invented, because our client didn't even know who they were. They're like, we don't know what problem we're solving or who it's for. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, sure. Let me know if you have more questions. Sorry, that was the long version of that. Did people get pizza? Don't forget to get pizza. It's here, and I hear there's 20 of them. So please start eating the pizza. Any other questions, concerns, horror stories, pizza stories?
We can do that over the pizza.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.